Welcome to Hear From Where, a podcast about the journeys that shape us. I'm your host, Chef Andrew Garrett, and each
Welcome
week
to
I'll
Hear
sit down
From
with
Where,
incredible
a podcast
individuals about the journeys
who
that
carve
shape
their
us.
own paths
I'm your
in
host,
health,
Chef Andrew
nutrition,
Garrett, and
entrepreneurship,
each week I'll sit down
sports,
with
and beyond.
incredible individuals.
This is where we
who
dive
carve
deep
their own
into the
paths
stories
in
of
health,
determination,
nutrition,
resilience, and passion,
entrepreneurship,
the moments
sports,
that brought
and
them
beyond.
here. From where
This
they
is
started.
where we dive deep into
Whether
the
you're
stories
looking
of
for
determination,
inspiration,
resilience,
to
and
start
passion,
your own journey,
the moments
or
that
just
brought them
love
here.
hearing
From where they
amazing
started.
stories.
Then you're
Whether
in the
you're
right
looking
place.
for inspiration,
So grab your
a
favorite
spark
drink,
to start your own
settle
journey,
in,
or
and let's
just explore what it really
hearing
takes to
amazing
follow your
stories.
dreams.
Then you're in the right place. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore what it really takes to follow your dreams. Hello and welcome back to Hear From Where. I know I've been gone for a while. Look, I work in the wilderness. I'm getting caught up. I'm back. I've got a really cool guest for you today. Today, my guest is Andrea Chebeleu, who I've recently met and gotten to know, and finding out that she is an artist who shares her art with a large audience and really has different mediums that she works within. And then listening to her get excited about what she does and how she does it really made me think, all right, we got to get into this story. So, Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to dive into a deeper look at where it started and where it's going and where you're at now.
Right
so,
on.
can you tell us, what do you do now so that we get a better idea than my bland description?
Absolutely. Andrew, it is just a delight to be here. I love talking about what I'm passionate about. And so when you ask me, I'm like, sure, I can sit down and talk about like what I do. What I do right now is I'm a mixed media artist, and it feels weird at my age of 56 years old, but I'm a content creator. I get paid for making content, not by, the social media platforms or anything, but I have a membership, an online membership where I create mixed media content. I gather people to work together. So I kind of create this space that they can put on their calendar, and they know they're going to be in community every week at a certain time creating. I also purchased a house up here in Oregon, which is where I met you, in the Portland area. And the full intention of this is to host retreats here. So creative retreats. I have a studio here. That's where I'm filming from. This is where I create, but this is also where I bring people in and do art with them. Not always just art. There's a lot of, kind of soul work that goes along with it, but art and life are all interwoven. And I feel like, there's so much that we can learn from just a creative practice that goes beyond the actual thing that we're doing, if that makes sense. So yeah, art and then some.
To me, it's total sense because hearing you say like connected the soul work to the creative process. I think that the creative process is such an important piece of the human existence, right? Even dating back to early humans and the way that petroglyphs or art was used to tell a story.
Yeah.
I think that, having people that are able to reach in and get that depth really makes a huge difference in your overall life experience. For me, my art is cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. And it's making something from something else. And it's that creative practice. I believe we're designed, divinely designed to be creators. That's kind of my whole, like, I'm here to do this. Like, this is how I'm designed. And beyond that, I've kind of gotten interested in my human design. I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but my human design chart recently, and learning more about myself and how I'm wired. Dude, I'm full on wired for exactly what I'm doing. And I love that. And I love that I found myself here gathering people together. Part of my design is that I take people from one place to another, right? That's kind of how I'm wired. And so creatively, I take them from beginner or novice or, interested creative person to exploring things and diving in and learning. So the creative membership that I run I call it a collective. So it's called Watch, Learn, Play. watch, learn, play. And it's kind of a mantra. It's the name of my business. It's the name of my collective, but it's that whole premise of we watch something, we're learning something from it, and then we have freedom to play. And so that's kind of the way I roll.
That's awesome. So you're able to hit multiple layers of how folks typically learn. For myself, I'm a very hands-on textile learner.
Absolutely.
But if I see something first and then I hear it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can do it with my hands, then it comes much more smoothly to me. So I love to hear that that's the process. You talked about your human design, and you know that your spot in this world is what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
How did you get there, right? Like where does that story start? Because it's the way you said it, there's definitely a story behind your journey. What prompted your place in this world? What was it that got things started? Where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Yeah, I was an only child for many years, well into after I was married, which is kind of unusual. I have triplet brothers who are 2 years older than my oldest kid. So anyway, I grew up as an only child, left alone a lot, that some childhood trauma comes from that sort of thing, an only child, but left to my own devices. I've always been a do the best you can with what you have, if that makes sense. It kind of like instilled in me. And so, yes, some people can say, yeah, that's a lot of childhood trauma comes out of that kind of stuff. Only child left home alone a lot. And then the other part of me, the resilient part, is like, dude, I was making houses out of boxes and getting super creative, like making furniture with like cardboard and little scraps of fabric, making curtains. And, I've always just been, that's how I channel my energy, is creative practice with my hands, making something, getting creative, getting really curious. It's how I kept myself company, I guess, during those years. And then fast forward, I studied in college. I went to school for nothing in particular and everything in general. So I have an Associate of Arts degree in liberal studies, which means, I studied everything from anthropology to zoology and, everything and nothing all at once. And that's kind of been my MO, like even in my art business. Mixed media artist by design is somebody who, in my opinion, so, if there are others who have a different opinion about what this is, how we define ourselves, but a mixed media artist for me means I'm not settling on one medium. I love watercolor. I love acrylic. I love pastels. I love this. I love that. I love collage. I love all of these things. A mixed media artist is like, yeah, I can use them all at once. Right. And that is, I'm losing track of where I was going with that, but that is kind of the beauty of, right, the art form that I've chosen, the business that I've created is all about bringing all these parts together, following what lights me up. And the degree didn't necessarily go to feed this business that I'm running. And there are probably lots of parts, lots of classes that I could have taken. I cried in accounting. I tried 3 or 4 times accounting, and I just could not. And what I learned is, as a business owner, you can outsource. Yeah, I'm learning that. It's really hard to learn to outsource things, but yeah, there's things that I don't have to do. One of the best advices I got early on in the creative business entrepreneurial area is don't get good at doing things you don't like to do. Accounting, not one of those things. So, yeah.
I love that you just said that, because I think it's one of the things that so many entrepreneurs get caught up in. Yeah. Oh, I have to bootstrap this, and so I've got to do everything. Yeah. And then, sure, like when you're starting out, there's a point where you're like, you have to do the books, like you have to see what's coming in and going out. Of course. You have to be doing your media, your marketing, you have to be doing these things. But there comes a point where if you allow yourself to get too sucked into that,
there's no your next level. There's no time left for the meat of the business, right? It's so funny when I meet people who learn that I'm an artist, or if I admit that I'm an artist, I don't usually lead with that. the opinion is like, oh, how fun. I would love to do art all day. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be nice if that was actually the way an artist day went? I would love that. It doesn't. There are days where it's just absolutely blissfully creative, or I just, carve pockets out of my day. I've kind of moved from my studio down to the house because I'm running out of space up here, surprisingly enough. I carved some time out yesterday and just slapped some paint on some paper, and downstairs in the house, it's all taped up on the wall. I know I'm getting sidetracked, but life is my art. Art is my life. And I try to weave that in as much as I possibly can. But it's also a business. So, we take care of the day-to-day stuff as best we can.
I love that though. People need to, I think it's important that we are reminded that it's okay to ask for help in business.
Yeah.
And to not be good at everything. And for me, recognizing where my strengths are versus where my weaknesses are, and asking for help in those areas has been an exponentially greater growth for me in what I do.
Absolutely.
And I think we get also caught up on that word weakness, right? Like people are like, oh, I don't want to be weak. And it's such a negative word. But I think that maybe replacing it with, having humility in areas,
sure,
and being humble enough to ask for help.
See it as a deficit, maybe. The weakness still. I know, I get it. I get caught up on words too. I'm like, how can I rephrase this so it's more palatable to me? But the whole thing is, we're not designed to do it all alone, right? I mean, I think so many systems need all the parts, and we're just part of a system that need more parts. So yeah, it's hard to ask for help, especially when you have, been burned in the past asking for help and it hasn't come through, right? And you're like, I'll just do it myself, and that's the growing process. I feel like that's how my business is going to I don't even want to say business, because I do feel like it's more of a calling, more of a purpose. Like that's why why I'm here on earth, I believe, is to use my gifts, my talents, my time, my resources, to uplift, to encourage, to support others. Again, back to my human design chart, I was asking this morning as I was doing some journaling beforehand, because I'm like, I want to get my brain clear. Like, we're talking about who I am and what I do. And so I asked my favorite AI tool, my ChatGPT, which I've named, and let's see if I can find, there we go. This beautiful little synopsis of what I do today and how it's absolutely aligned with my human design chart is right here. I'm sorry, it's right here.
I love it. I use ChatGPT on a regular basis as well. I love it as a helpful kind of counterbalance to write menus and bounce ideas off. Or my writing, I write very much the way I speak, and so it's not the cleanest enunciation, or it's not the right words, or it can be touched up.
It does.
And so I'll write it out and ask the AI to clean it up for me,
tighten it up. Yeah. And then you have that to
I feel
go
like it's
from.
still my words.
I know. It is such a great tool. And then you can read back what it gives you, and you're like, yes or no, right? But then I have something to make to say yes or no to, rather than, okay, I can't quite articulate. Get that down on paper. Anyway, so human design basically gave me this intro in case I wanted to read it out today. I want to talk about some of these. Had given me really grounding framework for understanding my vocation, why I do what I do, why I lead the way I lead, and why creative community feels like such a sacred calling for me. And it really is. I discovered I'm a manifesting generator. So many things clicked. My non-linear path, my obsession with trying things, layering things, skipping steps, reinventing ideas. It's literally how I'm designed. I'm not meant to work in a straight line. I'm meant to follow what lights me up and respond to life as it shows up. And that is what I do, my friend. I follow what lights me up and respond as it shows up.
I love that.
Right? That's a manifesting generator. And I have somehow chosen the perfect career. Actually, have I chosen it? I don't know. This is just circumstantial that I find myself here, and I'm really, really fortunate. Do not get me wrong. I understand how privileged I am to have had this opportunity. I'm married to somebody he's a mechanical engineer. Like I have this business not that meant anything, but you know what I mean? Like he's got this professional degree over here and he does stuff and he's pretty cool, but he's actually very cool. He's also a great partner for me because we design things together and I can dream up things and he makes them come true. So he has 3D printers running. We have lasers, multiple lasers. We have all the fun things, cool. Right? And he loves the fact that I give him permission to buy all the fun things because I need it for the business. It's just a great match. It's a great match, but that left brain, right brain thing emerging together, it works. It works.
That's awesome. I love that. Again, like finding people in the world that complement us and are excited to support our dreams, and then you can support his dreams, and then you get to create these things together, and it's this very like it's beyond the idea of matrimony, but it's this true partnership of like hearts and minds coming together to create.
Absolutely.
And that is like I think that like Christina and I, whenever we do something together, whenever I want to build something in the house or I want to fix something, it's always a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And every time we collaborate, it's just the result is so much greater than it would have been if I was left to my own devices of like, this is how I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah. Man, I learned so much from him. I dare say, I believe he learns from me because could not be more opposite in the way we approach things. And it's a beautiful connection, right? I can anticipate how he's going to approach it. And I'm sure he can anticipate how I'm going to approach things, but it works. It works. We've been married 33 years now. So
33 years.
It's a long-term collaboration.
That's amazing. Again, there's so many things that I think that I get excited about that and not to call myself special, but the average person doesn't get excited about these kind of things. I grew up an only child as well.
Yeah.
And so I can relate directly. Like I knew you and I had.
I know.
And
we're going to keep uncovering them. We're going to keep uncovering them. Not only are our names female and male version of the same name, right? Let me just tell you, I have been really irritated with Google that Andrew comes up before Andrea. I'm like, not only is it alphabetically incorrect, it is male dominated bias, and like, just don't get me started on that. But anyway, I won't hold that against you. I think that
things that I would never notice because it's not,
I know,
because I'm already number one.
That's right.
Of course. So let's rewind a little bit. These are the kind of conversations I love to have though, because this is exactly, this is how you get the good stuff. It's not just this linear, where'd you come from? What'd you do? What do you do? It's
only child.
Exactly. Like we're gonna hear something in here, and someone's gonna pick something up and be like, "Oh, that really resonated with me," and that's what I like. This is why I talk to folks like you. Anyways, I see now I'm getting more excited. Like, you manifest that, like, you light me up here.
There we go.
So after college, we went to college, did the studying. Didn't have anything that really spoke to you in that, except for you don't want to be an accountant.
No, I was headed towards elementary ed. That was my plan. I went to college in a couple of different, I started in Washington State at Walla Walla University. My parents couldn't afford to keep sending me there. So I went to community college and they just kind of hopped all over. I was a runner. I just would hop from place to place. I think my longest term being in one place at the point of being in college was 4 years max. So it was 4 years here, 4 years there, 4 years anyway. So I, amassed a little bit of college time together. And at that time was close. That was when I met my husband and we got married really young. most of my kids have, two of my three kids have followed suit and getting married really young. And that's okay. Like when you find your person, you find your person. So anyway, got married, and then we moved up here, or we moved up to the Bay Area from Southern California, where we met each other. And so I started telecommuting, which back in 98, that was not a thing, but I was working but I was lucky enough to do it. So I was pregnant with my middle kid at that point, 97. And so I moved up to the Bay Area. I was telecommuting and working as a systems analyst for a big medical group in Orange County. And I kept that up for a little while. As soon as I had my middle kid, Andy, I stopped doing that. And when they were 9 months old on my knee, I'm referring to Andy's non-binary. Andy was not born Andy, but anyway, Andy is now my non-binary trans kid. When Andy was 9 months old, sitting on my knee, I went away with a girlfriend. We brought the kids. So I had two kids at that point. We brought the kids to a beach house, and we're talking about she wanted to take a sabbatical from teaching. I wanted to do something creative now that I wasn't doing my boring, mind numbing systems analyst work. Not interested in that. But very grateful that I could do it remotely and still earn an income, right? That was brilliant back then. And like I said, in 97, that wasn't super common. So we conceived this business together called scrapbooking, ... a work of heart. So that was the first business that I created. She was a teacher on sabbatical. I was a creative mom who just wanted to start something, and we did not want to go there's a Creative Memories is this brand of scrapbooking. It was like a multi-level marketing sort of Tupperware, but for scrapbooks back in the day.
Oh,
Creative
yeah, I
Memories.
remember these. My mom had those.
Yeah. Right. I did not want to go that route. Andrew, I haven't asked you how old you were, but I am afraid that you're way much younger than me, and I'm probably the age of your mom. But anyway,
no, so I'm 44 years old. Okay. So
yeah,
we are in the same. Yeah,
we're in the realm. Anyway, I did not want to go that multi-level marketing route. I wanted to do my own thing, fiercely independent, fiercely don't tell me what to do. Don't give me any rules that I've got to follow. So I started this business with my friend when she was on her sabbatical. And then at the end of it, I was absolutely bitten by the bug of, wait a second, I have a wholesale license. That means I can order things for 50% off, because that's the standard markup. You mean I can buy my supplies and then resell most of them, but keep stuff for me, and that's part of the business. And please don't, if anybody's watching this, don't go audit my accounts. I just, nothing like starting a business to support your creative habits. And that is really, truly how this started. It was very paper arts oriented. Scrapbooking was hot then. We would order supplies. We would go to, we would create these little mini retreats, like one day things where people would come and work on their scrapbooks, and we would provide the supplies and the know-how and all that kind of stuff. So that led into me creating scrapbooks for other people, because I kind of got good at it, or at least efficient at it. I mean, good enough that people would hire me to do it. And so I did that for a number of years, to the point that the jobs that I was doing for this one particular client that I had, I was outsourcing, because she had so much volume coming in. I mean, it was crazy stuff. Like, her daughter was in competitive soccer, and so she would make a massive album for each girl on the soccer team. So we're talking, I don't know, were there 14 girls on a team when they're doing, but I don't know how many. It felt like a lot, but I was doing full albums for an entire season for these girls, and they were all customized. Nothing was boilerplate. It was all very, I would have tubs of photos that I'm, cropping, matting, mounting, decorating, adding captions, all this stuff. It just, suck the soul right out of a creative process. But
yeah,
I was not complaining, because it paid very handsomely. I charged what I felt like what I was worth. And she definitely paid it without batting an eye. And that afforded me the ability to move into my first commercial space, my first real studio out of my home. And so I was doing all of that in my home studio in San Jose. And so that's how I started my first commercial, opened up a retail-ish space. The retail part of it grew very slowly. But that's what had me be able to open up a larger space to gather people in, not my tiny little, home. My husband built me a 12-foot by 12-foot studio into the garage. And then I moved into my first 1,000 square feet, and it's just been going up since then. So, yeah, that's what started the actual A Work of Heart business that is still in San Jose. I still have 3,200 square feet. I've graduated. I've got some space down there in San Jose, close to downtown, that I still have 19 months left on that lease and counting.
All right.
And counting. So I'm up here all 99.9% of the time. The intention was, when we bought this property, was just for me to come up and do retreats here. And then I got here and was like, I'm never leaving. I'm sorry. The Bay Area I cannot go back to that when I have this. So, yeah.
I can 100% relate. I moved up here from Sonoma, California. Mm-hmm. So again, we've got these
I know.
18 years ago, and I fell in love with the state of Oregon, the people, the scenery, the rivers, the oceans, the mountains, the deserts. It's a spectacular place to be. Really as a creative, I can see this like being a place. Now, do you draw a lot of inspiration from like the outdoors, from plants and animals and
my
places?
Art
like what
changed so much when I moved here. My color palette shifted. My subject material, I've always been an abstract artist, mainly because that's where I started, and I haven't put in as much time into the skill set of making things that look like things. I like more representational, more color and pattern, and making a piece feel a certain way is more my go-to. That said, I have been incorporating a lot more nature into my process. And so before we hit record, we were talking about herbs in the garden, and we were talking about sage, and I have 2 like overgrown sage plants out there. And you would grow sage for culinary aspects. I grow sage because it makes a beautiful print. It has like these fuzzy leaves that hold paint and ink and all this kind of, so you can make beautiful prints with sage leaves. So I go to the nursery to look for plants, for the structure of the leaf, for how it will lay down and maybe be a mask in a cyanotype, which is a sun printing process, or how it would lay on a jelly plate and pull up ink and press down on something else and act as a stamp. So it's lovely having the 5 acres here that I can plant whatever I want and explore it. So it really has, being here in nature has expanded my creative practice in ways that I could never have imagined. I knew I was yearning for this when I manifested it into existence. And just the blessing of actually being here immersed in it is unimaginable. It's really, fantastic.
One of the questions I really like to ask creative people is, what was your "this is it" moment? What was that moment like? Because I know you had one.
I
had one, and and exactly. I continue to have them as I do this. It's like I am in the right place, doing the right thing. You already kind of touched on it, but what was the first one? Do you remember that first one that really pushed you into it?
I think the first one. There have been more recent ones that make me realize like you are on the right path. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like very affirming moments, and I think that it's always when I'm in community, in gathering of creative people, and we've been on a journey, right? And maybe some people have had frustrations or like angst along the way, and we're at the end, and everybody just collectively is so lit up by crossing this threshold, trying something new, learning something new, persisting, being there together, being in the creative energy together. And there's this energy in that I'm like, oh God, more of this, please and thank you. Like I'm so overwhelmed. I can even feel it viscerally in my body right now. I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude that this is the life I get to live, dude. This is the life I get to live.
Man, I love that so much. It speaking with folks like yourself is so good for me for that exact reason. This is why I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be having this conversation.
Yeah.
It is there's so much that in the busyness of life in the world today, we forget how important the communication, the group presence,
Yeah.
the whole idea of like what I can't do alone, we can do together has been so lost in the grand scheme of things from my point of view. And so when I get the opportunity to jump into a group of people doing something collectively to grow, my life gets bigger immediately.
Absolutely. It's that
And
connection.
it really is. People forget that human beings are designed to be in these tribes of people that have these ideas to share and collaborate and grow.
Yes. So I didn't mention this before, and I know you said it was an okay topic. I am in recovery. I've been in since 2009. And when I moved up here, part of me wanted to re-identify, not as first and foremost, I'm an addict in recovery, but I wanted to expand that identity. And so I sought out, I went through a period of turning my back on AA and just kind of seeking other communities to belong to. So I joined my art guild, the local art guild, and I joined, joined a women's circle, this really beautiful, it's called Her Sanctuary here in Portland, which I highly recommend that as well. But I joined both of those, and two women individually in both of those things that I connected with. We're doing things outside of the organization. We're going on a hike, and I let slip that I'm in recovery. They're like, me too. I'm like, see, everywhere we go, no matter how far we try to distance ourselves, we are there. So I think that I am just meant to be here to gather and connect people, to receive the wisdom from them. But I want to circle back to my turning my back on AA. When I told that to my sponsor in California, she's like, you give so much, you pour out so much. I just want to make sure that you're mindful of where you're receiving that as well. And that is what I get in the rooms, right? I get a little bit of that in other communities, but that is so what I get in the rooms of recovery, is that we're on this path, we're on this journey of betterment, we're on this I'll speak for myself. I am on this path of learning more about myself, learning why I react to the things that I do in the ways that I do, identifying what's healthy and what's not healthy, identifying, how I want to be in this world, and just trying every day to be a little better at that. That's what I've learned, I guess, in a nutshell, from being a part of recovery. But also that gives me the opportunity then to pour back out, to keep pouring, like my wise sponsor said, right? Receiving and pouring back out. And that is so integral to me. Creative process, just living in general, being around people. Yeah.
I love that. It's important. And again, another thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't get the advice early on as they venture into this, like, I'm going to start a business. This is what I'm passionate about. I'm going to do this exciting thing. I'm going to pour everything into it. And we forget that when we pour everything out, we leave nothing for us. And I've been in those places before with cooking where I hit a wall, and I don't want to come home and cook. I don't want to explore cooking. I don't want to try new methods of cooking. I don't want to try to, learn this or learn that. And I have been, you said it earlier, it's like the life I live is a blessed life, especially in my career, and finding ways to not only produce great quality for my guests, my clients, but also to be able to still have that joy and that excitement in food, to come home and, like, I'm on this journey to try to make a really good donut right now. Like, everybody knows, everybody knows that I love donuts. I can't get away from the darn things, but I can't make them. And I really have been wanting to learn how to make them. So I've been on this, little, bit by bit, just like, okay, I'm going to try this method. And So what has that been like for you in your business, in your career path? Where have you hit a place where you're like, I'm
Yes.
drained. I don't want to do this. Like,
Yes.
what has that been like?
Oh my gosh. Really frightening the first time it happened. And then the second time I was like, this is familiar. I don't like this. And then the third time it happened. Okay, should I keep going? Yeah, it's happened multiple times, my friend. It's happened. And I think that the more when it comes up again, I recognize like this is just a natural rhythm I go through. So first of all, I don't freak out. Second of all, I know that typically I can get re-inspired or re-energized. Maybe it's just time for rest. Maybe it's just time to like put the stuff down and try something different, because it's in the trying something different or being in a different environment that I personally, again, back to human design, it's in those spaces that I get lit up again. So first and foremost, knowing that it's cyclical for me as a creative, it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. When it ebbs, it will flow again. And I can take those ebbs as like, oh, let's go check something else out. Let's go to the home goods store. Let's go to, the repurpose yard or something like that. Let's kind of mix it up. But yeah, it does freak me out, especially leading a creative community. And like my income is based on like keeping it fresh. One thing that I do is that I also feature other artists every week. So I can I'm not saying I can just dial it in, but I don't have to always be manufacturing the create. Like I've built it into my process that I bring attention to other artists. That's part of what I do. And so I can be like, okay, I'm not super inspired right now, but let's go look at so-and-so and what she's doing with this technique. And then, or he, I'm not going to, gender them all, but let's look at what they're doing. And then that will, we pick up some little, a little bit of juice here, a little bit of juice there. I love that I'm talking to a chef, because when I introduce this concept, I call it under the influence art journaling. We're art journaling under the influence of another artist. And I love it because it's kind of a cheeky, I'm in recovery, but that also makes people think, what are they doing over there? Huh? Under the influence of what? So we're under the influence of another artist every week, following within our theme. And it's like, we're coming to your restaurant, Chef Andrew, we're coming to your restaurant. We're eating I'm trying to make the word and it's not coming. A delicious meal you've set out for us. It's fantastic. We're just oohing and awing over this. And then you take us into the pantry, into the where you have all the ingredients, and we look and we see and we notice all the ingredients that you have. Then we're going to go back to our kitchens and we're going to try to make something in the flavor, in the essence, under the influence of Chef Andrew. We've seen what you use. We see what your results are. We've tasted your results. But I take people in my community on a tour visually on Instagram every week with a different artist. And I explain it exactly like that. We're going to a chef, somebody's going to make us a meal. We're going to go notice, we're going to receive it. We're going to consume this delicious thing that they've created for us. And we're going to kind of pick out some of the ingredients, and then we're going to use those ingredients in our own artwork. And it's just such a beautiful way to learn, to teach, to guide people through. And it's actually burnout free for me, because all I have to do is have artists lined up. So I don't have to actually, be as, and it does inspire me, because I do get inspired by new things. I'm always looking for a new light.
That is like, so that again, like every time you talk about something you get excited about, it gets me really excited too. And again, in the entrepreneurial world, we get so self-focused that selfishness of, the reality of America is like, I have to be me first, me first, me first, me first. And we forget that by celebrating others in our same path, in our same, area of expertise, brings us so much more opportunity. And I try to express this to young chefs that I speak to, that ask me questions, or like look at me for, I want to do this, I want to do that. But like, well, who are you bringing up?
Yeah.
And I think that the more we bring up others around us, the more full we become.
Absolutely.
I used to own a hot sauce company, and in that hot sauce company, like everybody, oh, aren't you worried about the Marshall's hot sauce, or aren't you worried about Ghost Scream hot sauce? Aren't you worried about Hob hot sauce? Like, no, are you kidding me? Like, I love that they are here. I love that they are creating products that are amazing, and I want to tell you about them. Like, yeah, they take a bottle of my stuff, but you need to go check out what Sarah and Dirk do.
Yeah,
like they're and
it's
being able to share that.
It's community over competition every time. I know that's a buzzword, but community over competition every single time. Every time. That's always blessed me, never burned me. You know what? Trying to do it myself, that's what leads to burnout. That's what that's what fizzles and just like fizzles out. I don't have the energy to keep going when it's just me. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What let's see, how do I phrase this in a good way? Is
just throw it out there.
When you're seeking inspiration, what is the thing that really speaks loudest to you?
When I'm seeking inspiration, what's the thing that speaks loudest to me? I don't quite know how to answer that question, but I'll just say nature, I would just say like noticing the natural world, and just like the beauty and the imperfection and the organization and the seeming chaos and all that really speaks to me. So if I can if I'm feeling uninspired, must just be sitting inside with my head down, because all I have to do is go outside and look around, and inspiration is it's literally everywhere, but it's in the natural world. And it's a challenge to get me out of, I'm a homebody. I love to hunker down. I love I don't know if you can see over, actually it's a hot mess over there, but no, I can't get the camera to go all the way over there, but there's skylights over there. There's beautiful lighting, like down on my tables. And yeah, it's hard to get out, but when I'm feeling uninspired, that's going to come from the natural world. It's going to come from breathing fresh air, getting a different perspective, a different view.
There is a ton of science behind that.
Oh yeah.
There are cultures in the world that spend time intentionally outdoors.
Yes.
I read a book. I know if you're listening, I do read. I've changed, but I read a book, and the author went into this the depth of how important nature is to humans, and how he wanted to know what the effect really looked like. And so he went to these Harvard scientists and psychiatrists, brain folks, and they did a study on how much time it takes in nature to create an effect to help the human condition. Yeah. And so they found that 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a day, 5 hours a month decreases anxiety and depression by up to 30% in people that have those afflictions.
Wow. Yeah.
Just being in nature, surrounded by trees. And they were looking at people that live in like LA or New York City or even like San Francisco, where you're surrounded by concrete. You're not surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that when I got to Oregon and I got here, I'm like, everywhere I go, there's a tree. I can go sit in my backyard and look at the stars and be quiet.
Yeah.
I don't have to go far to experience that calm. And so...
Right. So why don't I tap into that medicine more often? I know we also counteract the fact that we're rainy most of the time, so we're kind of counteracting the seasonal effect of just. But yes, and then the question is, why am I not tapping into that natural medicine to reduce the 30%? But I love the actual science on that. That I think that they're neurologists, right? Neuroscientists.
Yeah, those are the ones.
Neuroscientists, yeah. And I love that. I like knowing the numbers. I want to know, like, what's the number am I aiming for? Okay, I can set my timer for 30 minutes and be like, all right, I'm gonna go take my medicine. I'm gonna go like be
Yeah.
outside and we're gonna put it to a test and we're gonna see, does this work? Does this not? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's wild the differences it makes. I mean, I'm lucky enough to work in a place for a good portion of time throughout the year that there are no cars, there are no roads, there are no sidewalks, and it's just wilderness and animals and trees and sky and mountains. And it's such a weird transition coming home from that.
Yeah.
Because I'm there for 60 days in the middle of this. And like come back to reality. I'm like, oh man, like, okay, how do I behave here? How do I drive? Like, it's almost as if all that relief that I experienced there is just hit with this big breath of hot, like anxiety air of, okay, you got to get back into the rush. You got to go. And I've been trying to be more intentional about actually getting outside and going, it's so easy to just like go for a walk. And Christina and I, we kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. We've been busy. That's our excuse.
It's been raining.
But just going for a walk in your neighborhood around trees and, that fresh air. It's amazing how quickly I'm just like, oh,
I know, off that hilltop experience. You know what I've done for a number of years is when I'm gathering people together and they're coming for a retreat. One of the emails that I send beforehand is the aftercare for yourself after a retreat. And I'm going to add getting outside to that. But I recommend that people, before they come to the retreat, they set up a gentle reentry for themselves. It's just being kind to the after retreat version of myself. And so if I have maybe meals planned or, give myself an extra day off, if I have to come back and go to work the next day, maybe that doesn't feel quite such a gentle reentry. And if I can accommodate it, why not? Maybe do a little bit extra work up front so that I come back and have a gentler reentry. But I also think that it's just being mindful. It's mindset around that, recognizing like, I want to nurture this mountaintop experience for as long as I can. And how can I do that? And I think it's brilliant. Get outside, connect with parts that you've left behind. And for me, with the creative experience, I would say, set some art supplies out for you to come back to so that you're excited to keep that momentum going or, things like that.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
Please do.
I'm gonna borrow it and I'm gonna shout where it came from. Because I have never once thought to myself, you know what? I should give myself a couple of days off to kind of like re-enter and still keep that. Because when you go on something, you go to a retreat, you go to this experience, and you have, for me, when I do something in the kind of setting that you were, providing for people, I have a spiritual experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I am on fire and I am ready to attack the world and I'm going to do so much greatness. And then, I don't set myself up for success following. So I come out of it and, immediately that fire just gets hit with a fire extinguisher.
It gets quenched with all the mundane, I got to answer the email now. I've got to, I got to do this. I got to send that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I love that. I am going to implement that in my life because that is, wow.
Well, if you love that one, I thought
I'm so excited.
More of them. No, seriously, not joking. My mantra for life and in my art specifically, but for life is first, not only. It's my first time. Yeah. First life, not only life. I don't know. That's up to interpretation. But anyway, first, not only is a way of approaching things that allows me to have that beginner's mindset, allows me to get really curious and learn and not hold on to results, not hold on to it must turn out this way. I always tell people it's just paint and paper. Just paint and paper. It's first, not only. It's the first time doing it, not your only time doing it. Let go of the expectation of it coming out spectacularly. And usually the first one, in my experience, comes out way better than the second, third, or fourth because, the first one, I've let go of expectations and I'm not trying to force it to be or do anything. And that's kind of like situations too. We get into social situations like, oh, this is my first time meeting this person, not my only time meeting this person. I'm, first, not only. It's a great mindset to have.
I love that, man. Yes.
Again, you could translate that to dishes. This is the first time I'm cooking this, not the only of this. First time I'm making this, not the only time. I'm just going to see what happens if I do this and get real curious about, well, next time this is what I'll do differently.
That's it's funny. So I worked for a famous, well, he's now famous. Mm-hmm. His name is Guy Fieri. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, just the guy of, dives, drive. Yeah. I am familiar.
So I worked with him before he was on the Food Network. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, he got a ton of flack in Sonoma County at this sushi restaurant that he had opened, that he was doing pulled pork rolls, and people were just aghast by it. And oh my gosh. Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, Guy, like, why are you doing this? Like, people are freaking out. And his response was, everything's a failure unless you try it.
There you go.
And
yes,
that had always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, and on top of that is, just because something doesn't work the first time you do it doesn't mean it's not going to improve the next time. And so, you're constantly working towards it.
Or the things that you learn when you do the first thing that fails is so much more valuable than if it had worked out. Like, every time. My failures are my best education for the next thing I'm going to do.
Yeah. And again, talking about words that entrepreneurs use in their lives that are so negative, is to fail is such a negative thing in this world. Right. But you're exactly right. Is, the learning opportunities that exist in those first missteps, those things that I've learned. Oh, you know what? If I have the heat too high on this salmon, it's going to burn the skin, not get the skin crispy. Mm-hmm. And then it's not going to turn out the way I want. So I'm going to reduce the heat a little bit next time. Yeah. And it's going to be a perfect dish.
Yep.
And I think that's so important to remember, that this is, these are not the one and only times.
No.
Now, I say that, and so I was on the show Chopped, mm-hmm. and that is a first and only.
That is a first and only.
You only get one. You only get one shot.
Chance. Yes. 90% of your life, you can go first, not only. But
I learned so much from that experience, that in particular, timing my food. Is learning how to really time my food so that it's, even if it sets for an extra 2 minutes, it's still going to be palatable. Mm-hmm. Instead of, being so concerned with, it has to be this perfect right now, right this second. Mm-hmm. It allowed me to grow and learn that, I can, let this be a little bit, further. I can adjust this to create a great experience for someone. So I love diving into that. So let's talk a little bit in depth about your retreats. What does a retreat with you look like? I can vision it, but
I have kind of a, it's funny that I'm talking to a chef. I'm trying to come up with a menu for my retreats that kind of give you the baseline. Here's your basic menu. And it's usually a 3-day retreat. They come in on a Friday, noon, usually after breakfast on Friday. And it runs through 4:00 on Sunday. And in that time period, we get outside, we look at nature for inspiration, for like I was talking about my leaves, look for ones that are going to make good prints. I teach all about, different printmaking techniques, utilizing the nature that we've pulled in, that we've borrowed temporarily. And then we create prints. We take those prints, we tear them down and make larger pieces. And then on those larger pieces, we paint big. And then we take those big paintings and we break them back down again. And they leave with, okay, here's one of those paintings that I came with props. I actually have props to show you.
I love it.
So one of those big paintings that started with the smaller pieces can then turn into a book. And this is a journal that's ready to have more things added to the pages. But this was once, small pieces made into a big piece, painted on, and then made back into small pieces. So then they leave with things like this, like a journal that they could keep working on at home. But most often they leave with this, which is a lot of those pages. Like here's some, you can see the fern in there. We've done a heat press print with fern and some inks. They go home with a nice, here's another side of that fern. I think that's
that's so cool.
I think that's beetroot powder, actually. As a matter of fact, I know it's beetroot powder and a fern put into a heat press, like they would do iron-on transfers on T-shirts. I have a heat press,
right?
And so we do steam printing with botanicals and pigments. I try to use as many natural pigments like vegetable pigments and stuff like that as I can. And then anyway, then they leave with a book like this. This one doesn't have the cover painted. Usually their cover is painted. But they leave with a book full of pages that they can collect poetry, or they could do drawings or nature sketching or whatever they want. But yeah, that's the baseline. And then when people have come before and they want to come back as alumni, I have an offering where you can make a bespoke retreat. Just piece things together. That's what I'm talking about, the menu. Maybe you want to do more botanical printing. Maybe you want to really dive into cyanotype, which is printing with the sun or with UV light. I have both UV light set up because we don't always have sun out here. But it's really fun to explore different things. And so when people come back, I give them the option ahead of time of kind of creating their own experience for a retreat. So there's both and options. There's the basic, here's my 3-day program. And then there's the custom where you could request special emphasis or just do the 3-day program again.
That's so cool. And so I was scanning the website and kind of looking in it, and I saw, art journal. And in my mind, I couldn't picture an art journal. But now that I've seen an art journal, it's a journal.
It's a journal
with art.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been so programmed to think that a journal is simply a
journal
book that
like
I write
this? A journal like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. But they can be both and. So here's a journal like that and, has color on it as well. It can have both and. I use it as my palette when I'm painting other things, and then I come back and I write. So
that's amazing. So do you find that you have, so I use journaling as a tool to express thoughts and kind of get clarity in my own mind of what I'm doing. Because if I could put pen to paper on something that's in my head, I can more easily look at that and say, oh, this is what I was really thinking. This is what my goal actually is. So do you find with including art with written word, does that increase your ability to like really identify what it is you're feeling and clearing out some of the thoughts in your mind?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing that at 57 minutes you asked me about journaling, because this is what I'm the most passionate about. So we're not going to stay for another hour, but I freaking love journaling, and I believe that the solution, that the answer to any problem in life is at the end of pen to paper. Bar none. Like there is not, like that's my prayer, it's my meditation, it's my organization. I am not to throw labels around, but ADHD to the nth degree, but also a woman of a certain age. Like our brains are not necessarily super sharp and super clear on into so anyway, journaling for me does absolutely gives me that grounding point. It gives me the clarity that I need to okay, I've got all these thoughts that are like just floating around. I think of my journaling practice as imagine taking a ream of papers off the printer and throwing them up into the air. Whew, that's what my brain's doing all the time. Okay. Journaling is me like grasping them out of the air and tucking them away into the file folder and being like, okay, well, this is garbage. I can throw that away. Okay. This is garbage. I can throw that away. But then organizing my thoughts in a way that I can go back and pull them out and, use them again. But if I don't journal them, they are just clutter and noise up there in my mind. And I just, it is a practice that I cannot be who I like to be, grounded, calm, present, clear person, unless, and you can see, like, I'm serious about my journal. This is almost full, almost full. And I just make these every 3 months. I like make another one and I just pour everything in here. So I am absolutely passionate about journals. And because of the way that my brain works, everything has to go in here. I call this my everything journal because it is literally that type of journaling, the brain dump journaling. It's also bulleted lists. It's notes of collaborations. It's brain dump on business stuff. It's me designing next month's stencil. It's me just putting thoughts to paper and having it all here in one spot. It's the only way it works for me. It's the only way.
I love that. And I love the taking a ream of paper and just throwing it up and it's swirling around because I can hear that noise in my head.
Yes.
Like I know what that sounds like and I can see with journaling. So for me, I really have always loved writing. It was the one class in school. I loved going to English class. I loved writing stories. I loved like creating these things, but I always struggled when it came to, okay, well, write down your own, like what's going on in your head. Like I really struggled with that until I got to AA and I really did it. For you, what was it like to figure out that journaling and this creative journaling process was a solution to cleaning up some of the noise that you had going on?
Well, I got into it because of Julia Cameron and the Artist's Way. Julia Cameron is one of us. In the Artist's Way, she prescribes journaling as what she calls morning pages. They're 3 long handwritten pages. It's just a prescription. It's like, if you want what we have, do what we do. She wrote 3 longhand pages a day and at a minimum. But when I started recognizing that things were starting to happen in my life that I had written about, like I had these ideas that came out on paper, and then all of a sudden, one of the earliest ones that I can remember is that I wanted my studio in San Jose to not be just the Andrea show. I'm the only one teaching there, all me, all the time. And I had a lot of different people who were willing to teach. But in my journal, I'm like, you know what? I'm writing this. Like, I need to diversify. I need to bring in more people. Well, what if I did an open house? And then I started listing like all the people that I thought that I thought of, that I had connection with, that could present at this open house of like classes that they would want to teach in my studio. Like within 6 weeks, I actually had that open house. I had 12 teachers there along with myself. We promoted it. We had people coming through, and I'm like, I can only attribute that to my journaling practice. Like shit like that's happening. Sorry. Stuff like that's happening. And it happens because there's a through line from putting pen to paper, having that pain point of like, I feel like it's just me all the time and that's not enough. And I want more from identifying the problem, right? From up here, I had to see it on paper. And then my brain was like, okay, well, now the problem's there. Now we can get creative about how we're going to solve the problem. Oh, well, you know other people. Let's just go that direction. But for me, again, the way that my brain is wired, I needed to have that practice. And I have Julia Cameron and the Artist's Way to thank for getting me started on that practice, because now I could never imagine stopping that practice. I get super crunchy and super irritated when I'm not outpouring my brain on paper.
I love that. It's like, what a great way to find that this thing actually manifests itself into real life. And if I can put these words and plans and ideas on paper, it's going to come. And absolutely. I think that, you know, a lot of times it gets thrown into the woo-woo category of, okay, just manifest your dreams, you know, and people kind of look at it really, side-eyed. And for me, if every time I've ever spent my energy putting it to paper, 9 times out of 10 things are going to come to fruition. 10 times out of 10 it's going to come to fruition.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you get real clear, okay, well, I can let this go because in my brain it sounded a lot better, but when I write it down, I'm like, okay, I'm not so excited about it anymore.
This really,
we'll let that one go.
You know.
Yeah, but it's a matter of getting that clarity that comes for me from writing and doing that in a journal has been next to no other that I've experienced. It's magical. And if I could get everybody to make an everything journal, actually, if I could get more neurodivergent people to make an everything journal to experience the beauty of having everything in one place, I would believe that my job is done.
Well, I think you're well on your way. Andrea, I don't want to take up any more of your day. I'm just like, today's going to be an even better day than it already was. Aww. Because I spent this last hour speaking to you and hearing your story and your passion for what you do. I cannot wait. I want everybody to go and experience this and know what it's like. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sitting down and sharing your story with us.
Right on. Thank you.
I'm going to include your Instagram and your website and everything in the show notes. We'll have to do a collab sometime, Andrew. We'll have you come cook and I'll do art and we'll just, collaborate together. Creative collaboration. Let's do it.
Yeah.
100%. I'm in. No questions asked. Like,
any foragers? I want to learn about foraging too. So we'll do all of that.
Let's go pick some mushrooms. I'm into it. We'll get some ferns, get mushrooms, get all kinds of wild plants.
Right.
I've got to, outsourcing. I've got a great person to do that with.
Nice. More about that.
That's it for this episode.
We will get it down there. Andrea, thanks for
tuning in.
Thank you,
have an absolutely
enjoyed the conversation.
day.
You too.
Be sure to subscribe and leave a
I look
review.
forward to seeing you again later this week.
A huge thanks to Justin Pitaleski for the music and sound production.
You too.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. All the best and happy cooking. That's it for this episode of Here From Where. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. A huge thanks to Justin Pitaleski for the music and sound production, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. All the best, and happy cooking.